Welcome back to Around the Table with Stacy Smith as we take a look at the political scene. We've been talking locally and statewide, now nationally. A lot has happened in regards to the presidential politics. Former Vice President Mike Pence has now dropped out of the race. Nikki Haley is coming on strong in Iowa, but still far behind Donald Trump in the polls. A trial began in Colorado to try to keep Donald Trump off the ballot based on a section of the 14th Amendment, which disqualifies anyone who engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the Constitution after swearing to support it. That's what the plaintiffs allege happened with Mr. Trump. And one Democrat has decided to challenge President Biden for the Democratic nomination for president, Congressman Dean Phillips of Minnesota. So, Keith, there is a lot to unwind what I've just given there, but I know you can do it.
Holy cow.
Wow.
Well, the bottom line is we're still not where we need to be. And I'm a broken record, but the octogenarians in both parties have to go. Neither the former president or the current president can provide the leadership necessary for the American people at this critical time in our history. 91 criminal indictments and counting. It's a ticking time bomb for the former president. As far as the current president, Mr. Biden, I think he's lost the confidence of the American people. Most Americans believe we're on the wrong track. 72% believes he should not stand for re-election. And the people, rightly so, he can't escape the fact that the people are concerned about his deteriorating physical and mental health. So if they have to go, who replaces him? Well, that's a big question, and it's already November. On the Republican side, it's at least narrowing. It looks like there's only three people really standing. Chris Christie from New Jersey, Nikki Haley from South Carolina, and Ron DeSantis in Florida. I think the debates will get a little more spirited if indeed at some point Trump would stand down. For the president, it's a little dicier. This new guy that came into the race, Congressman Dean Phillips, there's nowhere. He's not going anywhere from Minnesota. And Gavin Newsom, who's often talked about, there's no path for him. The fact is the Democrats have to wait until the sitting president decides to stand down. And then I would suggest there'll be a lot of qualified Democrats who have not expressed any interest in it now out of respect to the president will come forward at that time.
Stacey, I truly believe if both the president and the former president would want to be true leaders and statesmen, they'd both turn and say, I'm not running. Unfortunately, both of them have an ego that is out of control and saying, I can win. For President Biden to say that when I'm in my 80s, I can function like I was in my 50s or 60s is absolutely ludicrous to me. And for Trump to say basically, nothing happened back there on January the 6th, I can move forward, is again ludicrous. It's going to be interesting to watch him get on the stand here in this civil trial in New York and see how he stands under some cross-examination, where he's not going to be able to ignore the questions. He's going to have to ask questions, and what that may do to his reputation among his supporters down the road. But again, I agree with Keith. We got to move on and get to the next generation.
Stacey, if Donald Trump gets out of this race, I believe Joe Biden will get out of this race. But right now, if Trump hangs in there, and he has a good reason to hang in there, if he wins, he may be able to pardon himself, which is remarkable. But he'll still be on the hook on some state charges. But if he stays in the race, just out of self-preservation, I think Biden has to stay in the race. If he gets out, I wouldn't be surprised if the president also stepped down.
I agree with you, Professor. I think that maybe that's one of the reasons he's hanging on, based on polling that shows head-to-head its advantage Joe Biden, and we don't know what head-to-head would be with someone else. As far as Pence getting out and this representative from Minnesota announcing their candidacy, when a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there, they don't hear it. A tree fell in Iowa, nobody heard it. A tree is falling in Minnesota, nobody hears it. It's not happening yet. On the GOP side, look at the surge Nikki Haley has had. I mean, she's doing what? She's even now with DeSantis. I think she's going to overtake him. And I do believe that the GOP challengers to Mr. Trump have to be watching that, and they have to do what the Democrats did in February of 2020. See who becomes a clear front runner and then get around that person and see what happens to the front runner, whether he's arrested, held in contempt, thrown in jail, decides not to run, or they just flat out can combine everything and he starts to show a lack of Teflon and they start to win. The constitutional case is very interesting. The judge out there has already thrown out a motion to throw the case out. It intrigues me in some of her rhetoric and those opinions. If that were to be successful and it were to be upheld on appeal, it'd be very interesting to see what other states might try to follow suit. So there was a lot in that question, as much as a law school hypothetical on a final, Stacy. I hope I answered it.
All right. Thank you. And there are several other states who are contemplating this kind of a suit, or other actions are being taken as well. So we'll have to watch that. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. We are out of time, and I thank you for watching, and I hope that you join us again for the next edition of Around the Table with Stacy Smith. Thanks for watching.